Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Auburn Planning Board meeting of Tuesday, August 15th, 2017. Now called to order at approximately 7 p.m. This meeting is being recorded and broadcasted live by Local Access Programming. Is there anyone here in the audience tonight that is recording tonight's meeting? There being none, please rise and join us in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a request for a continuance for our 7 o'clock public hearing. The applicant is Masad Family LLC, requesting an approval of a definitive subdivision plan under section 3.3 and site plan approval under section 9.4.1 of the Auburn zoning bylaws for realignment of a portion of 54 Faith Ave, Auburn, Mass. The site of Diamond Auto Group's GM Service Facility, map 61, parcel 15. They're requesting a continuance to September 12th, 2017. Do we have a motion?
Motion to continue the hearing to September 12th.
We have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
That's a question. We have so much time to get this done. We've asked for 2 extensions already. Are they over order?
How many?
Through the chair, they have also requested an extension of the deadline as part of their continuance request.
And they signed the paper?
Yes, it is.
Okay, do we have a vote? Vote. Second.
Yeah, it's been seconded.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. We'll now go to discussion. Item 1 is 714 Southbridge Street. Site plan approval waiver request to build a freezer cooler in the rear of Holiday Pizza, which is up across from the TJ Maxx Plaza. Is the applicant here? Can you state your name?
John Reel, JR Associates.
Hi, how are you? I'm Dimitri Papadopoulos. Me and my family own the business and property.
So what we're looking to do is they're renovating the interior of the building, putting in all new kitchen appliances, redoing the dining area. It's the only renovation is only taking place in their area, not in the Honey Farms area. Right now they have an 8x8 cooler inside in the back in the kitchen area, which they desperately need more room for the new kitchen equipment, so that's why we needed to put that out back outside. So there'll be one door coming through the building into that, and it'll be a standard metal cooler like...
And how is it, it's just going to sit on a slab? Or
It's going to sit on a slab. We have a concrete slab, yeah. And it doesn't interfere with any parking. There are no parking spaces. All the parking spaces are on the other side in the back.
I think everybody's familiar with the spot. Scott? Any discussion, Scott?
No, I mean, my main question was, in looking at the plan, would parking be affected, but in looking at the aerial, it looks fine.
John?
Now my question is, what size the pipe going to the proposed grease trap? What's the slope? What's the size of the pipe going from the grease trap to the sewer main? What's the slope, and what's the slope of the existing main?
Okay, that I don't have an answer for you. I'll have to get that from our plumber. Gary Pike will be doing all the excavation for us there, and so he's going to be working on it with us.
And what's the proposal to break into the manhole?
They're just gonna go right into the side of the manhole, because it's right on the side of the driveway there. And they're just gonna access that, and they're gonna core into it.
They're gonna core and seal boot it,
Correct. Yep,
redo the invert inside.
correct.
Haven't seen any delineation on that, but
Right.
see any of that.
Wendy?
So it isn't just a cooler, it's a grease trap too?
We're installing a grease trap to bring that up to code. They don't even have a grease trap right now, so
Just bringing that up.
we're
to
trying to
code.
bring everything up to code for them.
Okay.
Jason?
I'm all set, thank you.
I'm all set. So,
If I may, Mr. Chairman, just to explain the application. This is a request for waivers from the public hearing process. The reason this came forth is because there's a change in the footprint of the facility, standard requirement for site plan review. It's a request for waivers of topography, lighting, landscaping, site plan by professional engineer and drainage. So there was no advertisement for abutters. This being a discussion item, the request for waivers. So if the board is inclined to vote this evening, you'd be voting for waivers prior to voting.
we can vote on,
Well, it needs to be to
we
grant
can
the
vote
waivers.
on as a whole.
Yes, sir.
John, do you want to see your,
I'd like to see the slopes at the size of the pipes, and the
Prior to
detail of
us
the
voting.
manhole. And the other question I just brought up, lighting, Matt, is it gonna affect any of the lighting in the back of the building? Or is there gonna be lights on the side of the cooler illuminating this area, not leaving it in the dark?
There's already like LEDs on both sides of the building, so it's illuminating pretty much the whole parking lot.
And that's not being touched. It's all in the sky.
so you want to see it prior to vote, or
I think we can vote on it as long as we get a,
conditionally upon
Yeah.
you, John?
Oh, yeah, I'll take care of that.
Bringing a print, showing, do you want us to restate what you need?
yeah,
Did you
slope and size of pipe, new
Yep.
pipe,
Size of
detail that's going into the manhole,
Right.
and depth of the grease trap and the cover above the grease trap,
Okay,
and depths of the manholes and slope of the existing.
right, okay.
Just make sure we have enough slope.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, may I add to the request that the information is provided to the appropriate town departments, because if the board's to grant the waivers this evening, then information, we can't condition that. So if it's information, if you're satisfied with that information going to the building commissioner or the town engineer,
Absolutely.
okay, that would be reasonable.
Okay, so. We need a vote.
Yes, sir.
Any other discussion by anyone? Any other questions? Do we have any discussion from the public? Okay. I need a motion that will state that we agree. Do you want to read the waivers, Matt?
Sure, it's a motion to grant requested waivers to public hearing, and waive items for topography, lighting, landscaping, site plan by a professional engineer and drainage.
We can vote on them as a whole.
Yes.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote.
That is with the conditions that,
The condition that the plans and what was
Correct.
requested by this member
Yep.
and the board be presented to Matt or into the code enforcement
So bring it
officer.
to the code.
Yes.
Yep, no problem.
Terrific. That's all, sir.
That's it.
Great.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for coming.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
The second item up for discussion is the Drury Square Village District zoning bylaws. Jeff Bragg, Principal Planner, Project Manager for CMRPC, is here to discuss these with us.
Should I come up?
Sure.
Okay.
Jim, you got his name and information.
Yes.
Thank you.
Oh, we gotta close other stuff.
I don't need this right away.
All right, I'll close it.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. My name is Jeff Bagg. I'm a principal planner with the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. I appreciate you taking me up early in your agenda. That's appreciated. I'm here tonight that I don't think the planning board needs to take any formal action tonight. Sort of wanted to introduce myself and get acquainted with where you guys left off with the project, and just seek a little bit of guidance on next steps. So I'm sure many of you are aware that this project seems to have started quite a long time ago, starting with a master plan in 2006, identified the Drury Square area as a place where rezoning could occur, or potential revitalization, and certain steps could occur. And I'm coming into this project. I've been with the agency for about a year, and I'm taking over the project from Eric Smith, who most likely came before you at some point in 2015, 2016. So I'm kind of trying to pick up the project and continue it forward. A couple key points is that since we've been involved, it's been grant funded. So the state gives the regional planning agencies a certain amount of money to give technical assistance to towns. And so the previous work with Eric Smith was funded via a grant, and this next phase with CMRPC is funded by the same grant. It's the District Local Technical Assistance. So it's not an enormous grant. It's about $6,000 that can be allocated to work with Auburn on this project in the Drury Square area. It amounts to about 75 hours. So what I'm hoping to do tonight is just talk through a couple items, get a sense from you all where you feel like you left off and what you want to see happen. I'm actually happy and proud that you guys got a separate grant, also from the state, and worked with Harriman Consultants to also look at the same area. So it's an ideal situation where you can use the small grants to keep moving a project like this forward, because it takes time. So what I'm hoping to do is help you move it forward further. Matt was nice enough to take me and my colleague for a walk around maybe 2 weeks ago, and we walked the area, and what the consultants had put forth in the two concept plans was very much a framework, but walking it made so much sense, where they sort of ended up with preliminary findings and recommendations. So one of the key things I was hoping to ask the board is, do you agree with the major recommendations coming out of that plan? Are there things that you don't think got covered? And how I want to talk with you about how best I can help move it to the next step.
Can you maybe briefly just summarize those, because I'm not sure
Yeah.
everybody was here then.
Okay, no, that's
And
great.
It's been a while since we
Yeah, I'm happy to.
talked about this.
So this plan, it's a summary report. It gives the framework for moving forward, and it considers two general concepts for. And sorry, I don't have the actual map on the computer, but the boundaries are sort of the mall entrance road here by by Austin Pond, and so the boundaries have stayed pretty consistent, and then running along I'm not that Auburn Street here, going up to what did you say? Route 12. Coming around the subway building, the restaurant, the Walsh Ave, and then the school gets incorporated because it's there, and then the other boundaries on Swanson Road, where Bed Bath & Beyond is, and that kind of creates at least the area. What the previous consultants did via public meetings here in 2016 was talked about making it more walkable and more pedestrian friendly. There are some sort of drawings of some buildings being kind of proposed on certain lots. And the idea with this kind of plan is thinking in the future. So these aren't proposed buildings that are going to go up, but it identifies areas where new buildings might work, where sidewalks could be constructed, where walkways, might be, or walking paths might be created. And one of the things that jumps out pretty clearly is the idea of a kayak or canoe launch and a bridge to sort of activate the pond. You have a really good setup in terms of a village center where you have some businesses, but you also have town-owned properties. You have the fire station and the library, and really what's missing is a pedestrian path to it. It makes a lot of sense to look at this area, and one of the things that we can do with this round is take the next step and start to look at the zoning that could help make this happen. And some of that work has been done, so what I was looking to do is get a little bit more guidance. I am under the understanding that there's a transportation improvement program, a project to redo the sidewalks and road, Auburn Street, right, Auburn Road,
Yeah, in 2021.
2021.
It's on the
It's on
tip
the
for it.
tip.
Yes.
Which sounds really far away, but actually it's perfect because a lot of this zoning could take shape. You could put the zoning in place, and then when the road improvements happen, you'll have a sense of momentum, and you'll have the zoning that is desirable in place for potentially, development that gets spurred by that. So the report, I think I'm good with that for now. Thank you. The report does lay out a lot of options. But some of them are sort of specific and actually work really well with what CMRPC is doing with the village center concept. So in general, some of those principles are trying to create pedestrian-oriented developments, move future buildings closer to the road to create the sense of sort of storefront activity, and put parking in the back and all kinds of things. And what the report concludes is that there are some options either in an existing bylaw or some of the bylaws that were talked about over the past couple of years to dig deeper. So what the consultant did is said, yes, zoning changes could enable you to do this, and what we feel like we could do is actually start to chart out the zoning changes that would allow some of the development to happen. So without going into too many of the nitty-gritty details, what we were wanting to know is, as a board, do you feel like this is still important? Is this a viable area to focus on? It's compact enough so that you could consider an overlay district, and you could tailor the boundaries so that it fits where you think it would be most suited. A couple of the things that are in the report and identified generally is that the current zoning doesn't really allow, or it doesn't easily allow mixed uses. So that's more than one use in a building or multiple uses on a single lot. So if you think apartments or townhouses or something in the back and a two-story building with retail and apartments above, the zoning doesn't really allow that right now. And the zoning sort of steers developers to put buildings out in the back and put parking all in the front. And what the village center concept does is sets a standard for developers to, and this is new development down the road when someone's ready, that if they put a new building in, it's required to go up by the street. And built into the regulations there's some flexibilities, and there's the ability to modify that requirement. But
So we would have to either wait until someone chose to rebuild or purchase an available piece of land to do this.
Right.
It could take a considerable amount of time before,
Yes.
way beyond us maybe, before.
Right. What it does is it helps set, if the board and the community, because it would have to go to town meeting to approve the zoning change, sets up the vision for what you might want it to look like, and so that the requirements are in place. Oftentimes towns are behind the curve, and a development comes in and that zoning is not in place, and it's much harder to sort of encourage a developer to change plans, so you set the zoning ahead of time.
If I may, Jeff, I can
Yes,
add something.
please.
Thanks. So
Yes.
the board and some of the members of the public can understand, Drury Square overlay concept has been in the town's master plan for a better part of 30 years. And the town's generally been focusing on the business side of it primarily since then. And when bylaws have been proposed in the past, and they have, they've been denied at town meeting for valid reasons. Now, that's when we're focusing really on just the businesses and the public education component of it being, people tend to think, are we affecting the businesses that are there now? And this isn't to affect them. It's to provide value to their property in the future if they ever wish to sell or anything like that, or it's not an impact thing, as you mentioned, Mr. Brooks, so it's not right away. One of the key components of the study that we had done by Harriman Group, which was completed in February, was to bring out the civic nature of the area, as Jeff's already alluded to, and that's to bring out the walkability, the pond, and we noticed we have a parking lot that we own in between the fire station and a multiple business building, which I thought was part of the multiple business building. Technically, that could become a municipal lot to allow people for parking or to launch kayaks or whatever and improve the water quality of the pond. Now, the TIP project is going to bring out some ornamental street lighting, some good walkability components, ADA compliant sidewalks, which are not there now, and some real nice, call it streetscaping, to, as Jeff mentioned, show people that this is actually underway. It's not necessarily the zoning that would kick off right away, but these are the little things that will actually show you the ball's getting rolling. And I thought that was really important. It was identified by Harriman Group as what we should focus on first, and I think it was a really good idea. So that being said, having worked on it with Eric Smith on the zoning bylaw already, and we stopped it at that time, so we do that. We've got some great ideas from Harriman Group, and now we can proceed the zoning bylaw, as Jeff mentioned. So that was just kind of history, I guess.
No, I think that's a good history. You know, it's not that there's an obligation to do anything, but I think you have an opportunity through this funding right now to take the next step. And what we're interested in trying to do is to continue to refine what Harriman put together, and what I'm interested in trying to do is get there's a preliminary set of drawings for the road and sidewalk improvements. And so with our GIS and our mapping, you know, capabilities, we can show what that would look like running through Auburn Road, and then start to just look at what zoning requirements would be necessary to allow some of this development to start to happen. Being realistic with the funding source and the timeline is, I think it would be reasonable for me to come back two or three more times with preliminary concepts to keep moving it forward. The funding closes in December, so we think that by the end of December we could have sort of the next set of options for the planning board to continue to look at, and then this funding source is renewed in February. So there's an opportunity for you to again sort of seek, it's a very easy application to come and request the additional funding to keep that project going, and that might be, the goal could be to potentially put something before Springtown meeting. It's sort of a step process. There would probably be a public community event of some sort once you had some agreement on what you're interested in looking at.
So once we create the zoning changes, if they're approved at the town meeting, then that's what builders or anybody working there would have to
Yes.
go along.
Yep. Yes.
Through the chair.
Yes.
So the idea is to create density and get people into the downtown area. Walkability, bike lanes, things of that nature. Do you know what some of the pitfalls were before when they had proposed zoning changes? Was it, as you said, there were other businesses that were...
Yeah, it didn't have good structure to start at the streetscaping, and how can you promote a walkability component with the existing infrastructure?
That was one of the biggest things over the years, as we talked about it, was that how long would it take
Right.
for everybody that exists there, which it's pretty full,
Yeah.
to ever want to rebuild or change or, you know, spend, and they'd have to spend a lot of money, because what we probably want them to do is put their building in the back. You know, if somebody existing was there, you know, the fire barn's already there, the plaza's already there, the bank, and some of those things.
There's an opportunity for density there that, you know, and some of the zoning that's already in place can create that density. So if we could build on that, is there opportunity for best practices as far as the zoning goes from other communities that you're working with?
Yeah, that's the other part of our project is we're working right now with you. We're doing an area in Holden and a small area in West Boylston, and so we're working with these sort of mini projects on those 3 towns, and then we worked with the town of Sutton and Upton last round. And so with all of those experiences and their requirements and what they were looking for, we're going to have a model bylaw at the end of December as well that'll sort of lay out some of the framework for other towns or for your town to continue to pursue it. So it's sort of a 4-track project, which the 4th track is to create a model bylaw and some design guidelines. You have a jump start. You're ahead of the other communities we're working with because you've taken sort of 2 steps already, and you're probably 2 steps away from considering something at town meeting.
So would that make those existing non-conforming?
Not necessarily. No, I think
See,
what it
Just existing?
right.
Because a lot of people won't want that attached to their business.
One of them might become conforming, that being the town pizza building, it's a mixed-use building, it's
Yeah.
currently not allowed in the district, that entire building, so it almost help it in a way.
I have a presentation I would like to go through quickly, but there are definitely options for an existing building to stay and uses to come and go if there's no substantial construction necessary. So, if they're going to demolish, half of the building to accommodate the new use, there's a threshold somewhere built in that they might need to start complying with some of the new requirements. But the concept is that you still want uses to be able to come in and out of a good building without having to, you don't need to move the building, you don't need to add more parking. So changes of use are allowed and expected. It's just that if you get a developer who could find more value from removing a building and constructing 4 new ones or adding apartments, then you have the requirements in place to sort of get to the vision that the town would have. So how much time do I know? I'm sensitive. You have another. This take 10 minutes, but so again, we talked a lot about all of these things, but potential new economic development opportunities. It can create a greater vibrancy in the area that might be chosen. It's really to make villages more competitive in your own town and in the region, and then create opportunities for growth of existing businesses and new businesses. I'm gonna, let's see. The second item here is that that it would apply to new development and some redevelopment. And I think we are seeing, with the economy kind of picking up, there are opportunities for people to look at their property and consider redeveloping it. I mean, it really is an option, and the zoning would kind of steer what that would look like. The key components are sort of specialized dimensional requirements. So the planning board is familiar with setbacks. Those are specific to this area, wherever it's put forth. It does allow for some building and site design criteria to be applied. There are new options for mixed use, and in most cases, the towns are looking for moderate additional residential density, and so I'll talk about that in a minute. And then part of this is clear procedures for the planning board and developers. So what you're trying to do is set the expectation, make it clear so that a developer can understand what is allowed and what the process is. These are just 2 images of 2 different buildings, but the building on the bottom is a sort of a commercial retail mixed-use building that was recently built in Amherst, and it's up close to the building. The other building is more of a historic existing building, and that's a lot of what we're trying to do is replicate some of the historic development patterns that are pretty desirable when you start to break it down. The asterisk here is that you would set a certain sort of build to this line, so you build closer to the road, but there are options to modify or waive that through either a special permit or just approval by the planning board. In the future, what you're looking to potentially do is discourage the larger parking lots being built in the front, and encourage the buildings to be up front, and that creates the pedestrian sense. So the building and design standards, again, pedestrian oriented means that there's doors and there's activity right at the sidewalk. Scale, massing, proportions, and height, colors, and materials can all be incorporated into design guidelines. You encourage parking at the rear, and then you do look at signs as part of taking them down from 20 feet high and really large and bringing them down so that if you're walking you can see it sticking out from the building and you can see what's going on. This is just an example of where we are with design guidelines, something that we'll have hopefully together at the end of December. These are some small scale mixed use buildings, so it's generally residential above, retail and commercial below. And a key component is multiple buildings on a site. Some bylaws just prohibit that. Some allow it, but don't allow the right mixture. So those are important. And it's not to pick on Dunkin' Donuts. The difference in this image shows car-oriented. It's a single destination. So there's a lot of that. That's sort of fine in highway business, but when you get into a more central area, you want to try to park once. Like Matt said, if there were an opportunity to create a municipal parking lot next to the fire station, you could park there. With the road improvements in a couple of years, you're going to be able to cross the street easier and get to the other side. And the idea is if you can get someone to park and go to two places, you definitely accomplish your goal. And in a scenario like this, you're only going to that one place. Residential density I know is challenging in some places, and what we're working on is trying to illustrate what certain numbers mean. And so we're going to kind of articulate what certain densities mean, or what kind of design of buildings that is. It's something we can work through with Auburn. There's poor design, and then there's too many units, which we have some examples of. And then one of the key things that we're trying to figure out on unlock the puzzle is there are a lot of small lots, and there are ways to make 4 dwelling units work. It's not, but if you run the calculation, 4 units to a tiny lot, the density number is enormous. But when you look at these models all across the state, they work pretty well. And so we're trying to unlock that and figure out what do you need in your zoning bylaw to allow that. This is just some slides about our work in Upton. And we did work in Sutton. Sutton is off, when you get off 146, it's very rural, and they did an overlay district up by their town hall and the town common. It was very specific, and it is going to allow the activation of these 2 buildings that people have been
They
trying.
rebuilding the white one?
They want to,
Yeah.
but the only thing that was allowed was a single family dwelling. And so with the overlay district, I think it was either 3 units or 4 that they could allow on a parcel.
So with the overlay, they could do something different? Yeah.
Yep.
That's big for one.
It's very large for a single family, and if you knew the context of it, it's right across from town hall, it's right next to the town common, it's a tiny little village center, but
It's nice right there.
some of the images are not popping up, but where we're going is trying to take, with the model, we're trying to take a scenario and figure out what actual zoning requirements would allow that to happen. And so that's something that we would work on in Auburn too, to tailor it.
Yeah, the computers not doing it.
That's okay. So I think that's that one. And the last thing I want to talk about was what Matt mentioned about the civic core. So civic is the town-owned properties, the things that are open to the public. There's one example. So I live in Western Mass. I live in East Hampton, and East Hampton has been really successful in. They had a master plan in 2008. And since then, they've been sort of chipping away at accomplishing certain projects, and one of them is to activate Nashawanic Pond. So it's a different scenario, but it's right in the center of East Hampton, and they got 3 consecutive grants over the course of 4 years to create a promenade, basically a walkway, next to the pond. And so I just pulled some things from other presentations I had, but so the woodwork on the right and the railing is all new. The lamps are new, the bike racks are all new, and this was completed in 2014, and then since then it's spurred on all other sorts of activities. And what Matt and I were just talking about is the idea of a walkway to get from the fire station property to the library. And if you go one more, these images are a little hard to see, but part of the funding was to create a metal walkway ramp to a dock, basically. And you could launch your kayak there, you can walk and you can hang out, and then creatively someone just started a paddle boat sort of rental business. And so you could imagine something happening in that area with patience and a plan to kind of move it forward. And then I think there's one more slide. This is the same pond, a different grant process, but they constructed a boat launch. So I think if the next slide gives you the sense, so there's a parking area up at the front, and then you come down and there's a couple trailer parking spaces, and then they adjusted the ramp in. That's a lot of effort. There's a lot of Conservation Commission approvals and things like that, but all of that is on the same pond. And so what I thought was important is just to show that it can be done. It takes a lot of effort and obviously a lot of money, but there's grant opportunities along the way to make that kind of stuff happen. So my closing is, if you think about 2021, it sounds far away, but the road improvement project is paid for by the state. If you continue with a process to chip away and come up with zoning and then come up with a plan for trying to activate the pond, there'll be a sense of momentum, which is what is really important to kind of move the community forward and support everything. So what I'm hoping to do is get an okay to kind of move forward and flesh out some of the zoning related aspects in this sort of identified area, and come back in either late September or very early October and present a concept or some information, and then we could have another meeting in November and cap something off in December.
Scott, how do you feel? Any questions?
No, I thought it was great.
John? Wendy?
Absolutely.
Jason?
Sounds good.
Great.
I support the project also.
Thanks.
Great. Well, thank you for your time, and I appreciate you putting me up close to the top of the agenda. It's
It's been a
really
long
appreciated.
ride.
I do. It's okay though. I'm used to it.
Thank you
so-
very much.
I'll be back in touch, along the way, and if there's an opportunity for me to share progress, we can do that without me coming. But I think the idea would be late September, early October. I will have something. I wanted
Just
to.
work it with Matt, and whenever he
Okay.
You ready?
gets us.
Thanks very much.
Is
Great.
that
Thank
good?
Thank you.
Great. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Take
Yes, I'll set this channel.
Okay. We have a 7:05 public hearing. The applicant is Eastland Partners, Inc., requesting a modification of an approved definitive subdivision plan known as the Reserve at Ashworth Hill, located off Blaker Street, Auburn. The applicant present?
Yes.
Will you just state your name?
Sure. My name is Chad Boardman, and this is Phil Caraccio with Eastland Partners. We're here tonight for a modification of the original subdivision, which most of you have seen this spring and was approved. At the time of approval, it wasn't a very good timing, that we were able to buy an abutting parcel of land.
Can I have a motion to open the public hearing?
Make a motion for the hearing?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Sorry, I was getting Nancy too. So what happened, we went through the approval process, and then after it was approved, a parcel next to our property we were able to acquire. What that did was enable, it's just an overall better plan. As you remember before, we had some lengths of the cul-de-sacs and turning onto Blaker and then turning onto the new subdivision. This abutting property enabled us to more or less do an Albert Street extension. So within the idea of having Albert Street extend straight into the existing subdivision, for all ease and purposes, we kept the cul-de-sac exactly in the same spot. A lot of the drainage characteristics were all similar. The pond itself is pretty much exactly the same as it was before. And there were some minor detention ponds down in the front just to catch the movement of the catch basins on the lower section of Blaker Street and the proposed new road.
Can you just explain that? You extended Albert's, the
Yeah.
road, the road length is greater. But
Yeah,
as we looked at it, but you're saying part of it as it enters in,
yeah,
is Albert still?
yeah. It's actually
In other words, Albert crosses Blaker and then comes into the Artemis?
exactly. This is a good map I have here. I don't know if everybody can see it, but I overlaid both of the roads. Whereas this one in orange outlined here, that was the original one as approved previously in the spring. We acquired this parcel here. So what we did was kept the alignment in the same position, same lot, same detention pond, but we were able to extend Albert Street perfectly into an alignment which hit the other previously subdivision. It's just for better planning purposes. Instead of, there was some concerns of taking a left and then taking a right, and we made some attempts before to try to potentially get this property, but we failed until it came into our possession, and we thought it would be great planning to come back here, spend the money, redesign it, do a modification, clean up what was happening in here before, and have a great Albert Street.
So now the
Extension.
lower road
Yeah.
that feeds the yellow within the yellow,
Yeah.
that'll be eliminated.
That's pretty much
And you're gonna
eliminated.
come right across Albert, right up in the
Yeah.
air. And
Yeah.
that,
The change in the road of length here, I did some, Graves hasn't done their review as of yet, but the existing plan in orange, which has been approved, so technically from Albert Street, would be 1,060 as approved this spring.
from the
new
middle of the
plan.
intersection to the cul-de-sac.
Yeah, and our new plan as designed, even though it's in the same spot, is 920 feet, so it's technically less. We still have greater than 800 feet, but we've yielded 1,060 going this way, but now it's 920 with this new modification. So we thought that would be a great aspect. I had a traffic engineer obviously do a report, which I think might have been attached to some of your materials, of how much better this actually is for safety and access to the parcel and things like that. I think right now would be just a no left turn out of here would make sense. And then it's up to, I think, the town engineer to discuss whether they wanted to totally, do a four-way intersection or whatnot. But that's pretty much almost like a private driveway now for us doing this now.
Like if it goes all the way down to where it hits back on 20.
Yeah, yep.
The road, Mr. Chairman, doesn't actually go all the way down. I think it services what would now be one or two.
I think it's one. Yeah, it's one house. We're actually
It was
filing
like
to
a
demo.
road before that went out.
Yeah, exactly. It was a carpet road, exactly. Yep. And we have pulling permits to demo both of the existing houses as we speak. I don't know if everybody has been kind of notified, but we are actually out on Albert Street. Albert Street has been recently paved, and modified and catch basin. We've been working with the DPW and of course Matt and some of the abutters here. We had a couple of problems out there, but the place looks fantastic, and I encourage all you guys to take a drive out there and see how much better it actually is. But like I said, we haven't had any comments.
How much land did you add?
More or less it was, I think it was maybe an acre and 3/4 maybe. Pretty much it was a even swap. It has a lot 5 here. We had 2 lots here. So we lost one because we were demoing and one from the ponds. We bought a house, but we're tearing it down to move the road over, but we still got 1 lot, so it's more or less cost us money, but we think it's better planning out for us. So all the design characteristics, very much of I think it might even be less of a slope. Some of the cuts are less severe. Again, the drainage pond is exactly the way it was before, except there's a kind of a slope pond down into here just to catch, because instead of being over in here, it's over here, heading to the same area as before. There's no buffer zones or conservation in here. We will, file with them to review this. It's out of the buffer zone. Technically, it's been done, so we'll go there regardlessly and get their, blessing, of course. It's pretty much the same as it was.
You have anything else?
I believe Mr. Boardman mentioned it's already being solicited for peer review from Graves.
That's correct. Yeah.
And I did get the work program from them recently. Review's not complete yet, so we'd be waiting
On
for
this new change. Scott, any questions or conditions?
Tough to say without the Graves peer review.
John?
I just find it curious that you're saying that the piece on Blaker Street was 1,000 feet, and you fought us tooth and nail to begin with to say that wasn't part of the thing, and now you're saying, well, now it's shorter than that. That doesn't hold any water with me. That's just doing it to your own advantage. Second of all, you are now definitely over the 800-foot limit, even though you left the cul-de-sac in the same place.
Well, he was what, 260 over?
170.
You said you were 1,060 under the old way,
The old plan, yeah.
coming down?
Yeah.
Right, but they,
That's including
but
Blaker
because
Street.
of,
That's including Blaker Street, yeah.
right, but because of town bylaws and all that, we had to take it from the intersection of Blaker Street to the end of the cul-de-sac to make your 800 feet. Now you want to sit here and tell everybody in the audience and at this table that that part of Blaker Street, well now it's 1,000 feet, so I made it better. Well, no, you made the road longer, and it's over the 800-foot limit. That's my first point. Second point, on the redesign, I have a few questions. I mean, on your details, you guys referenced LeBaron Foundry. LeBaron Foundry hasn't been in business in I don't know how long. They have gone out.
What was the reference to them for?
I'm not quite sure.
Castings, frames and covers. And then on the details on the manholes, I also found it curious that the 2 new catch basins, 1 and 2, down at the intersection where Blaker Street and your new road comes in across from Albert Street, are eccentric cone catch basins instead of concentric cone catch basins or flat top catch basins. I don't know why there's a difference there.
May I ask a question to the chair? Well, could you educate us on those? And
Concentric cone means your hole's over this, eccentric cone, your hole's over here, and the manhole slopes out to meet the 4-foot diameter. An concentric cone is just one single cone that comes up to the middle. And when you have an eccentric cone, and they go out there with a street cleaner, be it the back truck or the orange peel buckets, it's harder to get over to the edge for the guys to clean it with a cone. If it's in the middle, it's easier to get it to move it all the way around, just for maintenance purposes.
So you prefer the second one? as
Either that or a
opposed to the
flat top, concentric cone or a flat top. And then a couple other things. You show an outside drop on manholes for the sewer. You don't have any shown on the plans, but I can see where you, in the event of working out there, you probably want to put one in because of the slope. That was another question. The slope's so steep, I'm worried about separation of solids and liquids. You're over 7%. That's fine down the hill, with no chance to slow down or catch up. And then the on your drop manhole, the outside drop, and nobody does outside drops anymore. Everybody puts in 5-foot manholes with an inside drop, and nobody puts a brick in the end of the pipe anymore, because you can't get mortar to stick to PVC. It just gets knocked out. The point of that is when the guy goes down to do work in the manhole, it doesn't shoot by the wire that goes down for the drop, and it gets covered with you know what. So the standard in the industry that I've seen now is half of a cap that's put in with stainless steel screws. So it stops the water from coming through, but you can still get a jet hose in if you have to without taking it off.
Half cap going into your T coming down, correct?
And it's not a T, it should be a Y,
Why?
a TY. Yep, half cap, cut it in half. You can stick it in the bell. That would be a plug and you screw it in, or if it's a plain end, you put a cap on and you screw it into the sides. I was wondering why you didn't have corn seal boots for the manholes, for the drain manholes. And there is no depth of cover over the water main. You state you're going to put bank run gravel over the water main, compacted in 6-inch lifts, but you don't show what size the lift is, so I don't know if it's 3 inches and you're just throwing it in. It should be at least a foot. And the rest should be selected. Down near the main should be 2-inch minus what you have, and then 6-inch minus from there above, until you get to the gravel for the roadway. So that's what that is. I just kind of thought that somebody just did cut and paste on the sections that didn't take the time and pay attention to the needs of the town. And what I'm looking at is the town's eventually going to wind up with this for maintenance. You guys aren't, you're walking away. You know what I mean? So down the road, I'm sure Bill would appreciate that easier maintenance.
Absolutely. But when we get the peer review back from Graves,
Yeah,
and John can review all of
Okay.
this again, you can see if any of those are done.
Oh, yeah.
And you've heard some of the things that he said. We're gonna listen to everything he said. We're gonna wanna make sure that those were addressed.
Yeah, no problem.
and going, making sure, and Shannon, I'm sure you'll get those in the minutes too and share them with you.
Yeah,
guys.
that's great.
I don't know if Bill's going to go along with the 970 some odd feet to the cul-de-sac either. We have to pull that back.
They did, through the chair, for the waiver for that, of that provision. So that is in here as part of their application this time.
Waiver of the,
Yeah, we were asking for a variance, and
we'll read them after we get there.
Sure.
Wendy?
Through the chair, is there also now another lot has been created, so there were 4 approved, now we turn into 5? Okay.
that would technically be yes, because we bought a lot, an A&R lot, and we just moved the road over, so it's, yes.
So there's 5 lots.
Technically-
Short answer, yes.
Technically, yeah, we bought already an existing lot, and we tearing it, we're kind of swapping it around.
This is still the 5 lots it does, still designated for single-family homes.
That's correct, yeah.
Anything else? Mr. Jason?
Are we approving anything today, or are we waiting until Graves comes in?
The peer review has to be done.
Right, even the waivers, will
Yes, sir.
I wanna see what Graves says and then address all the things John brought up.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, just one item, and we had talked about this before, but I'm not certain how this is going to go quite yet. But with the new lot, sorry, I'm sliding my chair across the room. But one of our provisions is that the new detention structures are supposed to be on their own lot for future maintenance. And this is proposed, I believe, as an easement? Or
Yes, yeah,
will
well,
be?
yeah, I didn't want to change the plan for this meeting, and I'm not,
Sure.
since Graves' plans weren't done,
They're going to catch that too.
yeah, I was gonna make a
So,
condition.
I wasn't sure if you still have enough lot size when given this, plus that, you might lose your frontage off Blaker, can you use it off of the new road?
That's right.
And this just wanted to bring that to the forefront. And the other item that you and I discussed was, we had come up with the name was introduced as Artemis Drive, and now it's a four-way intersection. I was curious if it would be preferred if this is a continuation of Albert Street, so you keep the same name on the road. It's just a thought, but it's up to the board.
Yeah. Less complicated, I mean, for the town. Police, fire, ambulances.
Yeah, I think the fire chief brought it up during the peer review meeting, thought that would be a good idea.
to continue it as Blake.
Or is Albert Street?
Albert, I mean.
Yeah, do we have a manhole manufacturer? Who's gonna make your manhole, do you know?
Yeah, we have several of them. I mean, I think everybody's been going with them. They went out of business, but sometimes the plans say and/or similar to, you know, LeBaron, but we can definitely respec it out.
The Baron sold out to Campbell Foundries, I
Right.
believe. Campbell has it all.
The other thing, looking through my notes, is you show butyl rubber for the gasket in the manhole sections. I don't know anybody that uses butyl rubber anymore, it's all Ken seal. And on your typical PVC sewer service, why would you put in a saddle? Why would you use a Y? Nobody's gonna wanna use a saddle. Y is much better.
We would put Ys in.
It'll be part of the conditions. That's all I got.
Is there any public comment? Yes, would you state your name, please?
My name is Eileen Lassard, I live on Blaker Street. And the road at Albert Street is very smooth and people are speeding on it. Going around that corner, there's already been 2 fender benders because there is no stopping, there's no, right of way. So I'm concerned about the speed that that's going to impact on that road.
Well, there's not gonna be a light there. Obviously, that's Albert
That's
Lake.
correct.
So, that's a good point.
We could put up a temporary stop sign, but it just needs maybe Bill's approval or something like that. I don't have no
It has to
problem with
be
that.
voted
Because
and
everybody's kind of
approved.
whipping around the corner, yeah.
Yeah, probably has to have.
Wasn't a stop
Stop
sign there
signs.
before?
No, I don't think so. No, never years from years past.
It's quite a big difference if you guys drive out there.
It's understandable.
It's pretty below.
Well, we can ask Bill to set up, a 2-way or a 4-way stop sign.
And
Maybe at least 2-way on both ways on Albert. Yes, Wendy?
would be appropriate for any kind of a traffic calming measure, road hump or something of that nature too.
We can refer to him for an advisement on that.
May I ask a question to Mr. Lassard?
Yes.
Just through here, because you asked a similar question about posting speed limit signs. Are there any on either road that you know of now?
They can whip around that corner and it's pretty deadly.
This is a thickly settled zone, typically a 30-mile-an-hour zone. Perhaps it's just not signed and should be now that the road's freshly paved. I don't think the
soon
board
as you
can
pave
require
it.
it here. It might be something that has to be done through the town
You can
engineer.
talk to
It might even require a town
Bill
meeting
or
vote
the
to
police
add it.
chief
So,
or whoever.
yeah.
Yeah.
But certainly,
All those signs have to be approved.
Yeah.
yes. The town
Yeah,
meeting.
the Mass DOT.
Jason? I'm all set. We'll wait for the peer review.
Any other public?
Any public comment other than Mrs. Lassard?
Yes, I had talked to Matthew, or actually communicated earlier today, and we had done a complaint because they were working outside the agreed upon hours, and they have corrected that. But they were also using commercial construction vehicles on on Baker Street. And my neighbor had taken videos of it, he wanted to submit that as a complaint. So I have that with me.
Okay.
May I,
Through the chair, that is one of the conditions of our approval to load materials on the right-of-ways. And I had communicated that with Mr. Boardman, one of the instances was there were holes, I forget, you guys were installing infrastructure, so one of the ends of the roads was closed off for public safety reasons. So they had to route trucks down Tinker Hill Road because they couldn't get out by Route 20. But as far as offloading materials at the time, I'd like to see the video, especially because if they're, it's part of one of our conditions, but it's something I'll certainly communicate with Mr. Portman to
And we
make
wanna-
sure there's remediation one way or the other.
I'd like to talk to Bill too about when they're coming out of Blake, that there's no left turn.
Yeah, I think it's good.
And what we can, and there's not probably a lot other than the sign that we can put there that says no left turn. Can't really make it directional.
This being the no left turn out of the
Going
news.
down Blake towards Tinker Hill.
I mean, you're going down the new road.
The new road.
Down the new roadway to where the intersection of Albert and Blaker is, but taking a left there to go down to Tinker Hill to have that as another way out. Because they could go straight out when they get down, and take a right at the end, go out down Maple and come out there, and we don't need to increase that traffic. We got the light.
We saw some people doing it. Yeah, exactly.
There's gonna be a light out, there is a light, and so that's the way to go in and out. Any other public comment?
Mark
Did you
from One Eames Drive. So how much closer to, from left to right are you going? Now you're going closer to the 4 residences which live on that location.
Than
So
before,
the distance from left to right,
probably
300 feet?
250 feet-ish, yeah, somewhere in here, yeah.
Just becoming a lot closer.
You're on the lot line of, I forgot what number it is.
Yes.
20, maybe?
What's that?
Probably right.
Well, that's, yeah, but I'm saying I'm up top.
Caucus, you're up
Oh,
top,
there.
yeah.
I'm up top, yeah. So I'm just saying, you'll be coming closer to the other residences, closer back behind their backyards there, whereas where the location you have now, you're still having a lot more a buffer zone between them and the people that moved there for the tranquility of the Blaker Street, Tinker Hill area. So
We are closer, I do admit that.
that's one of the things. And then, Ron, just one other quick question while you're doing the discussions. When you're talking about where they come out on Maple Street, I don't, is there any way that there could be, and this has nothing to do with you, is there any way if they're up there, they can do one strip line between, so the vehicles, when they pull out, they can hug more towards the right? Because a lot of times when you pull in from 12, cars are sitting in the middle of Maple
Of
Street.
Maple, trying to go out on.
Yes, I've called Bill,
Head
I've called Bill and
northbound.
Kenny a few times, I know it hasn't gotten to the approved points, but that could be extremely helpful as well, because there's a lot of times people stall
Note on that.
there.
And Shannon maybe put that in minutes. We can talk to Bill Coyle about that. We should look at the whole area.
Roger that.
Going, taking a right on Blake, on Tinker Hill and going down, going straight out onto 20, or taking the left on Maple and just look at that whole area and do it before it's over with.
And then the right from Blaker to Tinker Hill with a small pond, the retention pond is on the right-hand side, that's really getting eaten up over the years. So you're really encroaching in terms of where it started, the road starting to erode drastically right by the culvert drain. So,
And the tracks go across, where the tracks used to go.
yes, correct, correct.
The neighborhood road assessment.
Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Is this all just for 4 houses? I'm Ryan.
5 lots, right, Mr.?
That's correct.
So they're
yeah,
building the
5
whole
lots.
road just
Well,
for
that's what, yeah.
4 houses?
5.
5 houses?
Right.
And what, to get this, the lot you just recently purchased, did that include John Blaker's house?
Yeah, that was John
His
Baker's house.
his
yeah.
property?
Yeah. Or Cocker's. No, what was it?
Maria.
No?
Maria.
Yup.
What was it? Maria Albert? Thank you.
Okay, any other questions by board members? No public. Yeah. Again, any other public comment? One more chance. Okay, so we're gonna continue this.
Yes. No, I don't. I'm just wondering if you believe that the intersection is obviously a better access line. I mean, I heard the board's comment
I
about
think
the
it looks
length
better,
kind
and
of
I think
thing,
it's
and-
nice that it's in line, and it's, doesn't bring them down Blaker.
Yeah.
And we just wanna, as Mrs. Lasad said, see what we can do about the speed, the speed, because people do cross Blaker and crosses Albert, and they're all used to, as he said, the tranquility and, and not probably seeing too many cars up there.
Sure, yeah.
So we'll want to have Bill and everybody take a look at all the traffic, and you might mention it to Graves, Matt, give any suggestions that they think on all the roads that lead out.
Just for the, if it's a neighborhood road assessment, I wouldn't put that on the peer review as part of the applicant's expense, because that seems like a town thing.
I will, however, if you guys give me the okay to post stop sign, I'll put it right up, no problem.
All right,
I do have a question kind
Go
of
ahead.
through one of the comments. If, as far as clearing the entire area,
Yeah.
are you trying to preserve like trees off the side to kind of create a natural buffer for any of the other parcels? I know you own parcel B also, so I was just curious if this is to be clear cut at all, or is there going to be any sort of buffer screening to
Well, right now there would be, you know,
You got elevation.
we have this,
Yeah.
this road's actually a cut, so
Yeah.
it's,
how many acres do you have in total now?
It's still parcel B too.
yeah, it's still parcel B at 60 something, I believe. But this is still a large cut. I don't think it's as bad as it was before, but it is in the ground, 14 feet, so there is kind of a buffer already where the road goes up in there.
Okay. I just wasn't sure from this house, an vantage point in that direction. So, I don't know, something to consider.
Not for right now, no, I'll probably leave the trees all in here anyways.
Okay. No question.
Okay, so we're going to continue.
Yes, sir. Next available hearing is September 12th.
Is that fine with you?
Sure.
And if you think you have Graves' comments? Okay. Do we have a motion to continue this till September 12th?
I'll make the motion.
Do we have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote, September 12th at 7 p.m.
Great, thank you.
Right on time like tonight.
Small correction on those minutes.
Oh, okay. Again. Thank you. It's because they use the past template, so it's
Right, I understand.
yeah.
No, just call me mister.
Oh,
Because they use the past ones and then shame on me.
Right.
Did you get that guy's name, Luke, or whatever, I think?
Yes.
Okay, do you want to do minutes?
Yeah, absolutely.
Get them out.
we still have, Kamara Estates.
Oh, yeah, let's see what's going on with that.
But Matt needs a minute.
Oh, okay, all right. So, I make a motion that we accept the minutes of 7:18 with that one slight correction.
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
It is a vote. Let's see, Bryn Mawr Estates, we're not there yet. Associate member vacancy, August meeting schedule, correspondence.
All right, so the other one is that, I had a picture.
Who's the one that's right in the...
Nice to see you. Yeah, nice to meet you too. I hope that was okay. I was
Across from the gas station here.
Across from the gas station?
You weren't talking on
Oh,
146?
that's credit union.
Oh, Green Credit
That's
Union.
Millbrae Credit Union. That's right on Main Street. We're on Elm Street, which looks like Main Street.
Yeah.
It's the
It's on
credit
the corner.
union, the National Bank, and us. We're like all right there.
Because they had some good rates.
They did, yeah.
And I
Oh,
said-
we don't pay rates.
And I said to, yeah, and I
That's
said
a
to,
cost for me.
I said to Savers, I said,
My
hey,
mother Teresa over there.
how come
Save
I
with
can get
college
this
kids.
another percent here by, on my certificates? And they said, they came back and said, we're a savings bank, we can't pay those things.
Well, because credit unions don't pay tax, so they have another 30% benefit to all that stuff.
Ron, you're not on recess, I hope.
We just,
You just talked.
I didn't even know.
yep,
Because the sound is so long, I didn't know.
okay.
Cool.
We're just waiting for
Well,
Matt.
it's too bad I can't get a hunk of that house before they destroy it.
Yours.
Yeah. Today we can arrange.
It's still there, huh?
Yeah, it's still there.
Did you ask him?
No, I couldn't leave here, but I'd like to. I might like to go in and take some
Why don't
pictures.
why don't you go now?
Well,
See if he's out
Well,
there.
let Matt know, and Matt
Matt'll tell him.
tell him.
Yeah, maybe I can have it.
I got a light fixture.
Let's get
I
Matt.
know,
Matt
I'd like
will
to
do
get
it.
a
What am I
piece of
doing?
post or something of the place.
Yeah.
That's how to build that.
We can recess or we good?
We'll go at Matt.
Don't film it.
Dick,
If they could allow me to go in and take some pictures and maybe pick a post out of there or
of
something.
his original house that he
All
lived
right.
in.
Yeah.
No, can you ask?
Do that.
Well, who owns that now? Does he own that?
He owns it now, he's bought it.
Oh, okay.
Right?
So they bought that on.
Yeah. You just
So
want
it
to...
only had you as an owner, and then me, and then,
That's very young, Marie or Copper, whatever. And Malcolm. Matt, if you could do something, let me know.
I'll ask.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
Did we do minutes?
Yep.
we did the minutes of 7:18, and I'm waiting for you for direction.
Okay.
Bryn Mawr Estates?
Oh, sure. So, Mr. Brooks, myself, Kayla Moody, our building commissioner, and our DPW director, we've all kind of conversed over this. Our last meeting was to send a motion to Mr. Gallo to try to light a fire. Our town administration has recommended that, especially the building commissioner, that they've established a decent working relationship with the builder at this time. And they've responded to their remediation request for the issues they sent us the video to. So they've requested the planning board let it work out that way for now, and if they'll keep us informed of any other infractions or anything that's major. But
It's
for
being
now,
done on their own by
yeah,
your own.
and the town's
So-
actually making some headway, and it's a change.
Then we can call on the bond if it's not to our
Right.
satisfaction.
As a,
What have they done?
They're at least getting some houses in, which as opposed to last year, they did. So they got 2, they got 6
It would
more to
be,
go.
yeah.
have they found all the manholes yet?
No, and
I saw
that's-
some digging this morning up
What we
there.
did learn is we do have enough funds in the overall bond if we had to pulverize that all again and take them off ourselves. So there is enough funds there, but it's, even if we were to do all the work, there's still 6 houses that someone's gonna build and they're gonna destroy a new road. So
Right.
it's,
After talking to Caleb and that, and he had called me into Matt, I just thought it was the best thing to do.
yeah.
Is to let him work on his own while it's going good and Gallo's paying for whatever he's doing on his
Mhm.
own, and then we're not using bond. And then if we have to, we can come back to that bond.
So through the chair,
Bond
is
still
it
his
worth our while, the town's while, to have to do that work when there's so many other things that need to be done in this town? That
Right.
we're using our manpower, their money, but our manpower that to me makes no sense
That's a great point.
whatsoever.
Yeah, it's a great point also.
And we've been using a lot of our manpower
Manpower.
for several years.
Yeah,
Now that subdivision
That's right.
was carried from 20 or 30 years ago.
Longer.
But you said that there was somebody that was looking for, who was looking for an extension or something we just talked about? Because it lapsed over no, someone else told me on the outside that they had one, a subdivision approval, and then it lapsed, so now they're gonna come back to renew.
Correct. Yeah, this one.
So do we change the bylaw?
No, that's.
So it still could be, somebody could get, so what was this guy talking about?
As far as this project, are we talking this, or still Bryn Mawr Estates?
Bryn Mawr Estates.
That original project was approved in 1966 without
Yeah.
time limitations. So we still are
But now we
subject to
have a
that.
time limitation,
Right.
that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
We didn't then.
Yeah, so this one is just kind of at, we're at the village.
so one more question along that same line. If we ended up taking the bond, would that be enough money to hire somebody to do all the work that needs to be done on that road? Okay, so we wouldn't have to use the town's manpower, we'd
Right.
do it.
Is there a requirement in the town bylaws when they put a new sewer and drain in, they have to CCTV it or it's accepted?
I'm not sure. No, the DPW.
Have to
director
do
would know
what,
for sure.
John?
Just send a TV camera up to make sure it's.
Oh.
fine.
I think we had to go in those drains after all the silt came down and it filled up cellars and all the drains solid. I mean, down Briarcliff, it was awful.
But if they found the manhole at the bottom of the street where it goes into the 2 catch basins, and then put the TV camera in, tells you how many feet you are, center of the manhole, you don't have to be out there looking around with a metal detector.
I saw some digging with it. It looks like they had exposed
They did.
an oddball shape, one of them up at the top, right on the
Yes.
south end.
Yeah.
It's a mess.
So what did we require last meeting?
We asked for them to, I forget how the motion
We
went.
gave him a short.
30 days.
We
Yeah,
give them 30 days.
To,
And so you're now saying you're asking us to not honor that one?
that's correct.
I'm okay with that, but Caleb and those guys now have
Right.
ownership of this project. It's out of our hands. If it doesn't go right,
They're gonna,
I totally yield to their
Mhm.
Yes, but-
professionalism and their knowledge of this product over mine, but now they own it.
Mhm.
If they want it, they can have it.
Yeah, and if there's issues with it, they're going to report them to us if they feel it's appropriate to do that.
Our real power is to pull the bond, so we can,
Right.
which is a draconian step, so let's see what they do, see what they can do. and-
Yeah, if it doesn't, when I talked to them, I said if it doesn't work, then, or if it stops having this good relationship, then we're gonna go. It's
Yeah.
just gone too long.
Mm.
I mean, I've sat here through so much of the time of this, and from all the developers from Tom Ravine, I think it was, that is.
Yep, Ravine.
Ravine, it was, well, Glossy had it years ago, but they don't have anything to do with it now. And then it was Ravine, and then, was there somebody in between, and then Gallo? But between them, there's been a lot of catastrophe up there in people's yards, and flooding, the silt filling up the cellars, all the drains. We found them, and I think we did a lot of repairs. Huh?
Swamps, the frog pond.
So, Mr. Burks, what we would need just, technically, it's just for Mr. Faber to withdraw the motion to send the letter at this time.
I don't know if I want to do that.
At the request of town administration.
I will request it. I don't like it, but I request it. I still think we're kicking it again, but I totally yield to their professionalism analysis job. I personally disagree with it, but I agree they're smarter than me in this matter.
Before you yield, can we just say, we'll keep his motion in order but not act on it?
No, we have to withdraw it for now, and we can make it at another time, because otherwise I'm required to do it. So,
Alright.
Whatever you guys want to do.
I'll withdraw the motion.
give me a second.
You can always bring it back
Second
in.
on that? I'll second
We have
it.
it
I'm not
on,
happy with it.
we have it on video how our position was, and if they want to take ownership from the board, they can have it.
I'm not sure, is that what they assume they're doing?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Alright. So, Mr. Chairman, there was some correspondence in our packets. There was a letter from Mass DOT for I-90 bridge repair, soliciting comments from the planning board. I put this out there into our packets at the time I received it, and Bill Coyle, who used to work for DOT, contacted the individual who was part of this project, and a faction of his division sent this letter out far too early. And
Oh, wow. They
Yeah.
did something wrong, DOT?
And
Wow.
they don't need
Can't
comments
believe
from
it.
us at this time, so I'll keep us informed.
Oh.
But it sounds like they're gonna make the 2 lanes going, and then the one coming.
Yeah, coming off the
Two
pike.
12s, one way, and
Makes so
and
much
another,
sense. I
and a
mean,
third
you
12.
know,
And which bridge is it?
This is the bridge where, well, it would have been after the toll booth trying to get onto 290 or 395. And it'll be 1 lane right side and then 2 lanes left trying to get onto 290.
I think they might have wanted done that before they did toll booth work.
Yeah. So this would have to be
To
on.
watch that toll booth work?
Please.
Put the dirt down,
That's
take it
enough.
out. Put the tar down. I mean, I have never seen anything so dysfunctional and such a scam in my life. I see it in Auburn and in Millbury when I get off. The length of time it's taken, I mean, there's got to be absolutely no, I don't see it. I can't believe it. And the turnpike has deteriorated since the day they put their hands on it.
I see.
She would travel the pike on a Combat Bridge was going on.
Huh?
oh my God, right?
What'd you say,
They did a
Dave?
great job. I said, you should have been traveling the Mass Pike while the
Palm Ave
Commonwealth was going on.
Bridge. Oof.
Commonwealth Ave down in Boston. They did a great job. I mean, they finished ahead of schedule, but
I mean, you can't even keep the trash off the roads.
We have one other thing in our packets that isn't on the agenda. It's just a flyer for Volunteer Appreciation Day. This was put on by the selectmen. It is Monday, September 18th, from 6 to 8. We're recognizing recent board members who have 10 years of service or longer, in increments of 5 years, 15, 20, 25. And there will be refreshments and acknowledgement of members who've served long periods of time. I believe you would be up for a 30 years, sir.
Do they have to invent a new category for that?
Lifetime achievement?
Yeah.
30 years, Ron?
I think it was 87. It might be 88. But I found it in minutes on accident when he was introduced. I can't remember which set it was.
You need a hobby, man.
Huh?
You need a hobby.
this is it.
Yeah.
So, when did you hit 5 years? Yeah? Maybe?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably,
Okay.
where are we,
If
17?
you're not at it, fine.
No.
I'll get it.
No, you don't get one. You just get a card from us.
Oh, that's fine.
You have to
I'm not
be
looking for any.
Do you get money instead of going to the thing?
Yeah, you get paid now.
Of course
Show
you
up.
can ask that question.
Well, no, wait a minute, it's not 5, it was
Doesn't-
2013.
The guy who still has
Yeah.
his paper boy
Right.
money.
I do. I do have it.
Under the mattress.
I do have. You saw it.
Sure,
It was on display.
Where was it in?
it was on display.
It was on display. I
It's
got
his
it right
first
out in the
model.
open.
So I'll introduce, well, the other thing I want to make to the board is I won't be in attendance for our September 12th meeting. I'm having shoulder surgery on September 8th. But I will provide any and all information I can for the 12th in advance of any public hearings that we have. And
Eric will
Eric is more. But perhaps the building commissioner or the town engineer might be here in my place. So that is all that I have for this evening.
When's the meeting in October? 'Cause
October
the first. Okay, that's the first Tuesday.
Yes, second.
Second Tuesday.
Forgot about our vacancy.
Oh, thank you. Sorry. We are still looking for an associate member, and any of those that are watching at home are encouraged to apply with the Board of Selectmen's office. There's only one spot left in the planning board. If you wish to join the fund, please contact me.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second?
I
All
second
those
that.
in favor?
Aye.
Aye.